And here we are, GRIMGOR with the biggin, this rogue idol here, and we've got a giant river troll hag. We're going to be fighting HDS once again. This is probably, actually, I would say, the best battle out of all the ones that we played on my stream, so definitely pretty excited to show this one to you guys. We've got IMRIK leading the High Elves, so he's making his debut here up on the Star Dragon. We've got Spearmen and Rangers for the High Elves. We've also got a Fire Mage here, and springing an ambush right on me, right out the gates, we've got Ragra's Pride, the ROR War Lions. They've got that leadership debuff, should come in handy here. Illyrian Reavers, 4 of them, which I am absolutely a huge fan of. And yeah, the Dragon Mage already taken some very cost-effective shots from those Wolf Rider Archers, including the Mangy Marauders. Got a couple of Boar Boys in here. All Boar units got a buff. I'm not sure exactly. I want to say armor was one of, like, the main component. I don't know exactly what else, but they're here. We've also got Gobbo Big Boss as well to kind of support them. And yeah, in the front line, just goblins. We've got the Crimson Killers to kind of be a stand-in for the Immortals, and the 8-Peak Loons as well. And yeah, let's get in. We don't have any healing on IMRIK, so I can go ahead and start Spear Leeching him. I'm also going to use the Biggin's ranged attack to just pressure IMRIK continuously. We'll see if that ends up being effective kind of over the course of the game, but here, this is definitely a mistake. These boars, I mean, I couldn't really escape anyway because they're not fast enough. I definitely should have pulled them back sooner, but they're going to get a little bit caught out here by just superior numbers of Reavers, and despite their armor and charge bonus and or weapon strength, or I don't know exactly, whatever buff, they're not going to do well in that engagement, and the Biggin's trying to throw at IMRIK, but actually just kills a couple of the boars there. The Wolf Riders, thankfully, were able to mostly get away, so I can continue to shoot in there very cost-effectively. You can see the War Lions use their roar there to try and break those Boar Boys. They do actually get terrified, both units, so pretty good stuff. Meanwhile, I just pulled back my front line to kind of delay the engagement here while we tried to clean up this side. Unfortunately, it really has not gone well for me. Lost out on quite a few Boar Boys. We might still get some Boar Boys back, but we're going to switch the Crimson Killers over there to start chopping up some of those Illyrian Reavers. And this Burning Head does not overcast, doesn't do too much damage to the 8-Peak Loons, thankfully. And yeah, get a general melee engagement between all the Goblins and the Elves here. Oh yeah. Oh, this Burning Head will come down and roast a few of these Gobbos. Actually, just barely not, but in the front line, we're going to throw a Soul Blight here to debuff the weapon damage of these Rangers, and tear away what little armor they have so that these Gobbos can really hit them very hard. Unfortunately, the River Troll Hag gets dived on by the Mage of Fire here. She has the You're Next, down to only 4 melee defense, but yeah, unfortunately, there's not really a lot to do attack. So I guess these few little Gobbos here, they're taking advantage of that. They're also going to get the Wah. And because the Mage is so squishy, she's actually going to take a lot of damage here. The Big Boss also comes through. He's now going to get rear charged by IMRIK, though, and probably deleted in, like 2 melee attacks. 3 melee attacks will be enough to see that poor Gobbo Big Boss off. So rest in peace, Big Boss. Gone before your time. And now a Fireball going to be thrown. The Hag did come back, but that Fireball will do quite a bit of damage. And the kind of mobile force for the High Elves kind of got way out of position over chasing some units, which has afforded the opportunity for me to chop up a lot of these infantry units. And likewise, the Gobbo Archers just, again, being super cost-effective. An Overcast Spirit Leech as the Troll Hag kind of shambles off the field. She's done after that Spirit Leech, but it was enough between this Bowfire and that Spirit Leech to actually rout that Mage of Fire. But here come the Reavers. They're going to get a charge. Very well done disrupting. I'm going to try and get my Wolf Boys away. And the Crimson Killers move in to do their splash attacks. Thankfully, the 8-Peak Loons as well, giving poison is a little bit nice here, but still, I don't really have the, the cavalry to be able to control these Illyrian Reavers, and mostly just try and keep my Wolf Riders away at best and win the melee engagement. But in the second wall being popped here, we have been in melee for quite some time. This Big Boss came back. I don't know if I'll be able to get him back in the fight, but the Biggin used up most of its ammo now, and actually IMRIK hasn't taken much damage, so in hindsight, I definitely should have been throwing rocks at this cavalry blob. I think if I had been throwing, especially because they're so blobbed up, and, the rock isn't super big that the Biggin throws, right? It's not nearly as big as a Cygor rock, so because of that, I definitely should have been shooting at these cavalry here, but the big boy's going to come through now. He's got pretty slow attack animations, but he does so much damage. So anything caught in those attack animations will get chopped. GRIMGOR has taken some damage here, but the You're Next active. Unfortunately, yeah, Oh man, that Fire Mage came back and fireballs my big boss. I was wondering what happened to him. That's absolutely brutal. While the Fanatics, meanwhile, chop through the last of these Silverin guards here. They're going to run away, as will the Rangers. But the mobile force here is still online, and the Warlines, especially with that leadership debuff, that what is it, Barrel Roar or whatever? It's this one here. I gotta remember the name of this ability. Yeah, this Mighty Roar, that's right. Very good ability, the speed debuff especially, but I like the use of the leadership component, especially against the Greenskins. In terms of build hindsight, definitely the Boars were a mistake. I think, you know, given what my build had, I had enough armor piercing with GRIMGOR, the Crimson Killers, and the Rogue Idol. I think just would have been better to go with more numbers against the High Elves. Obviously, they're somewhat weak to Swarm, so we're just replacing those Boar Boys, those 2 Boar Boys with like 3 Spider Riders. I think would have been a lot better, and I might have been able to actually take a pretty good engagement with the Spider Riders against the Reavers with the right support. But, you know, hindsight's 20/20. As it is, we are still very close here. The Idol and GRIMGOR are going to go back to back as the Reavers charge in. Got the Crimson Killers coming in from the side. IMRIK lands, and unfortunately, the Your Next debuff is just barely not on off of cooldown. It's literally got like 3 seconds. I think it had 1 second left when GRIMGOR routed, so I was pretty upset about that. If I could have got that debuff off in time, GRIMGOR might have been saved, but the Lord of the Dragons being used on GRIMGOR instead debuffs his stats very heavily, and he actually just gets killed by IMRIK here. Oh man, I have to say, IMRIK is a great free LC ad. He is a very, very powerful character. His campaign's a lot of fun. I'll be showing that off when I can. But I can show you guys him in battle at the very least, and I do think, again, he's a free LC ad for everyone, so even the High Elf players who don't pick up the DLC will get access to IMRIK, and he is a powerhouse, man, up on this Star Dragon. Absolute menace to the Greenskins, and to all peoples in the world, to be honest. A Star Dragon with 70 attack, 60 melee defense, I mean, just absolutely insane, not to mention his buffs as well are very, very strong. I was having some issues using him on horseback in multiplayer. Granted, I've only got a couple of test games. I think he does, on horseback, he runs into the general Horse Lord problems of not having enough mass and getting staggered too easily, which is a problem for a lot of Horse Lords, like Rapon's Tyrion as well, even. But IMRIK also suffers from that on his horse, and, you know, even like Karl Franz, like King Lewin, all those guys, for whatever reason, like horse mounts that are around the same size, like Cold Ones and Boars, seem to have better mass. But yeah, horse-sized mounts are just not great. That being said, on the Star Dragon, I think IMRIK is probably one of the best characters in the game. I do want to do some testing to see how he'll go, like 1v1 versus Karl, and some of the other kind of standard powerhouse units. Pretty sure he'll wreck Durthu because of the fire damage. That being said, here in this late game, the Crimson Killers and these other units are trying their best to hold out. I've been using these Wolf Rider archers. I rear charged those Rahagra's Pride here, the Warlines, to get them to break. Unfortunately, this other unit, which I had sent to pursue, is going to shatter due to the nearby presence of IMRIK, which is not the best. And the terror from the Biggin will be pretty key in this late game here. You can see these Rangers probably going to get terrified away very soon. But at this point, it's kind of down to RNG, honestly, mostly, between IMRIK and the Rogue Idol. You can see Lord of Dragons being used again there. A pretty short cooldown on that, with the 24 melee defense and 40 melee attack in particular. Very good against the Idol, as it has very high melee attack, 73 attack with a massive amount of weapon strength. So let's see. Unfortunately, it looked like that melee attack might have missed. I'm going to keep the health bars up here for just a moment as we kind of watch. You can see the other various units getting terrified away. At this point, though, Crimson Killers are getting very low on HP and leadership, and they get a nice rear charge here from these Illyrian Reavers. Will they stay? Will they break? Looks like they'll stay. IMRIK also, again, the Rogue Idol, some of its attacks are getting distracted, but because its attacks are so slow, if it misses on an attack, like if the attack roll fails, it's really bad. It's really, really bad for the Idol. So we'll see. Slightly ahead on the balance power at this point, but a great job by HDS here. He comes in with the Rahagra's Pride and use that leadership debuff to actually break the Crimson Killers and chase them off. Rahagra's Pride now, I guess, just out of range in terms of leadership debuffs for the Terror. So, yeah. And one of their unit models also distracting the Rogue Idol's attacking animation so he can't hit IMRIK. But let's see. We've got 3,000 HP on the Idol. 1300 on IMRIK. The War Lions get a side charge here, and I think, yeah, the leadership's going to go on the idol, unfortunately. So, bad turnaround for me. A little bit of a bad RNG there at the end, but I definitely made some pretty serious mistakes with the boars. So, yeah, at the beginning there, if I had maybe changed that at the beginning, might have gone differently, but still a very, very good game, very close game. And, yeah. Again, in terms of build, I definitely think the boars were a mistake. Like, just needed to go wider here. And, yeah, just cutting those 3, taking, like, 3 Spider Riders instead. Just that 1 extra unit of volume. And, again, hindsight being 2020, the Spider Riders would have been just fine against the Reavers, right? Like, I don't really need the armor piercing of the Boar Boys, and actually the poison would have been quite nice. Not to mention, because that engagement was happening near the woods, those Spider Riders, of course, with their new Spider Strider, the Strider trait, they will, like, phase through the trees, right? Like, they'll clip through the trees, so actually fighting near the forest would have been very favorable for me with those spiders, or even fighting in the forest, especially. But, as I said, great game to HTS. IMRIK absolutely pulling through there, and definitely showing his stuff as one of the most powerful lords in the game. Even without healing, did a great job keeping him alive there, and staying away from various threats, and absolutely just deleting whatever he steps on, which is quite powerful. The Dragon Mage, I think the Dragon Mage is okay. It's kind of like the Amber Griffin. Like, the Amber Griffin's okay. Both of them are very squishy. Like, they have lower armor and melee defense than what you would expect for most units. And the Sun Dragon, too, is just not that tanky of a monster. Both of them have relatively low HP. So you do have to be careful with them, because it's a pretty pricey spend. And if you lose your caster, of course, then you also have no access to the Winds of Magic. So you definitely want to be careful. I think it's potentially a good option, but considering it does fill your magic slot with a non-healing caster as well as being a monster, and I mean, you don't have like Felix like you do on the Empire to provide some other secondary healing source and even extra like damage resistance and attack and stuff too, right? So, being that as it is, I think the Fire Mage, we'll see. I think it will see some use. I just don't know how much. I'm not the greatest High Elf player, so I definitely need to kind of play around with it quite a bit and see. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed watching this. I was going to originally put this replay on with a few others for a multicast, but since it was so good, I decided it deserves to be out on its own here. GRIMGOR versus IMRIK. Yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.